Have you ever wondered if the high cost of living is truly necessary, or if there's another way to live? We live in a world where the cost of living, particularly in our bustling metropolitan cities, is skyrocketing. From the rent for a cramped apartment to the price of a simple cup of coffee, everything seems to be on an upward trajectory. These cities, filled with bright lights and endless opportunities, are also home to a relentless rat race. The toll it takes is not just financial, but psychological too. The pressure to keep up, to own the latest gadgets, to dress in the latest fashions, to dine at the trendiest restaurants, can be overwhelming. It's a whirlwind of consumption that leaves many of us feeling drained and, paradoxically, unsatisfied. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if there was an alternative to this cycle of earning and spending, of constant striving for more? Enter the concept of minimalism. It's not a new idea, but it's one that has been gaining traction in recent years as a counterpoint to our consumerist culture. Minimalism is about less, not more. It's about simplicity, not complexity. It's about possessing what you need, not what you want. Minimalism is not about deprivation, but about intentional living. It's about making conscious choices about what we bring into our lives and what we leave out. It's about recognizing that our worth is not determined by what we own, but by who we are and what we do. It's about finding freedom in the recognition that less can indeed be more. So as we look around at our cluttered homes and our cluttered lives, we might ask ourselves, is it possible to pursue a minimalist lifestyle in an expensive city? Is it possible to step off the treadmill of constant consumption and find a different path? Could minimalism be the answer to the high cost of living? So, is it possible to pursue a minimalist lifestyle in an expensive city? Let's explore this idea further. Before we delve deeper, it's important to understand what minimalism truly means. Minimalism isn't just an aesthetic characterized by stark white walls and sparse furnishings. Rather, it's a lifestyle choice, a philosophy that urges us to shift our focus away from the materialistic pursuit of more and instead towards less but better. Minimalism is about simplicity and functionality. It's about identifying what truly matters to us and eliminating the excess. It's about living with purpose, with the items we truly need and that truly bring us joy. It's about freedom from the overwhelming desire to acquire and accumulate, freedom from the clutter that often fills our lives and our minds. It's not about deprivation, but about clarity, about making room for the most important aspects of life. Now that we understand minimalism, how can one apply it to combat the high cost of living? Meet John, a successful tech professional living in San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world. John is not your average tech geek. He has a unique story about his journey from a high-consumption lifestyle to minimalism. A few years back, John was living the typical high-consumption lifestyle. He had a well-paying job, a swanky apartment in the city, and all the modern gadgets a tech enthusiast could dream of. But despite all the material possessions, something was amiss. He was constantly stressed, never finding time for himself or the things he truly valued. That's when he stumbled upon minimalism. It was not a sudden revelation, but a gradual realization. He started questioning the more is better philosophy and began exploring the idea of less is more. The concept of minimalism intrigued him. It was less about the physical possessions and more about the mental freedom. It was not about deprivation, but about liberation from the unnecessary. The journey wasn't easy. The first step was the hardest. Letting go of things that he had spent years accumulating wasn't straightforward, but he took it one step at a time. He started with decluttering his apartment, then his workspace, and eventually his digital space. The initial discomfort gave way to a sense of liberation. The more he let go, the lighter he felt. He found more time for himself, for his hobbies, and for the people he cared about. His stress levels dropped and he started enjoying the simple pleasures of life. He found joy in the ordinary, beauty in the mundane, but it was not just about letting go. It was also about being mindful of what he brought into his life. Every purchase was deliberate. Every possession had a purpose. He started investing in experiences rather than things and found himself richer in memories and stories. John's story is inspiring, but how did this lifestyle change impact his cost of living? John's adoption of minimalism had a profound impact on his cost of living. As he embraced this philosophy, John began making conscious changes that led to significant financial savings. One of the most noteworthy changes was his decision to downsize his home. John realized that he didn't need a sprawling house with multiple rooms that were rarely used. Instead, he opted for a smaller but comfortable apartment. This decision alone led to a significant reduction in his monthly expenses. His rent was cut in half, utility bills were reduced, and the costs associated with maintenance and upkeep fell dramatically. But John didn't stop at housing. He scrutinized every aspect of his life to identify areas where he could make meaningful changes. He decided to reduce unnecessary purchases. Instead of buying new clothes every season, he chose to maintain a capsule wardrobe, consisting of versatile pieces that could be mixed and matched. This not only saved him a considerable amount of money, but also eliminated the stress associated with constantly updating his wardrobe. John also applied minimalism to his eating habits. Instead of dining out frequently or buying pre-packaged meals, he started cooking at home more often. He discovered that preparing simple, healthy meals was not only cheaper, but also more satisfying. And by reducing his food waste, he was saving money and doing his part for the environment as well. Another area where John saved money was transportation. He sold his car and started using public transportation and biking. This decision not only saved him money on car payments, insurance and gas, but also improved his health and reduced his carbon footprint. These changes, while small in isolation, added up to substantial savings over time. But more importantly, they led to a simpler, less stressful lifestyle that brought John a sense of fulfillment and happiness. John's story demonstrates that minimalism can indeed be a solution to the high cost of living. But how can you get started? Adopting minimalism doesn't have to be drastic or immediate. It's a journey that begins with small, practical steps. The first step is decluttering. This isn't just about throwing things away, it's about making conscious decisions about what truly adds value to your life. Start with one room or one area in your house. Put everything into 3 piles: keep, donate, or discard. The keep pile should only contain items that you use regularly or that bring you joy. Everything else can be donated or discarded. Remember, the aim is not to create an empty space, but a space filled only with items that serve a purpose or spark joy. Next, practice mindful spending. Before purchasing anything, ask yourself 3 questions. Do I need it? Will it add value to my life? Is it worth the cost? This is not just about saving money, but about making mindful decisions that align with your minimalist lifestyle. It's about choosing quality over quantity and understanding that every purchase is a commitment of your space and time. Finally, find joy in simplicity. Minimalism is not about living in a barren room with only a chair and a bed. It's about creating a space that reflects your values and brings you joy. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of unnecessary possessions and finding happiness in the simple things. This could be as simple as a quiet morning coffee, a walk in the park, or a good book. Over time, you will find that these small steps lead to big changes. Your space will become less cluttered, your mind more focused, and your life more aligned with your values. And as you continue this journey, you will find that minimalism is not just about possessions, but about living a meaningful life with less. Remember, minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about finding freedom and joy in simplicity. So take the first step today and embark on your journey towards minimalism. So we've explored the concept of minimalism and how it can be a solution to the high cost of living. We've seen how the modern era's financial pressures can feel overwhelming, with the cost of living consistently on the rise. But then we delved into the serene world of minimalism, a lifestyle that champions simplicity, functionality, and mindfulness over consumerism. We journeyed with John as he transitioned to this lifestyle and witnessed firsthand the impact minimalism had on his cost of living. It was not just about spending less or having fewer things, but about making conscious choices, focusing on what truly matters and finding happiness and contentment within. We also laid out some practical steps anyone can take to embrace minimalism, from decluttering and downsizing to re-evaluating priorities and cultivating mindful spending habits. Minimalism may not be for everyone, but for those struggling with the high cost of living, it offers an alternative worth considering.